If you're stepping up to face the killer bee, then expect to be stunned. Here's a look at the Jada toys, the Ultimate Street Fighter 2, the final challengers, Cammy. Step into the ring and experience the thrill of battle with the Street Fighter 2 Cammy 6-inch action figure by Jada Toys. Meticulously crafted in 1/12 scale, this collectible figure brings one of the most iconic characters from the Street Fighter series to life. Cammy, known for her fierce fighting style and determined spirit, is ready to join your collection with unmatched detail and articulation. While it may feel bad that Cammy was made into one of Bison's dolls, it feels still pretty good though that Jada Toys made her into one of their figures. Before we get a closer look at Cammy, all the accessories that she comes included with, let's back it up just a bit. And let's take the tape measure and see how tall the figure stands. Now, she's actually one of the shortest of the Street Fighter figures. She's actually even shorter than Chun-Li. She's standing, though, only about 5 3/4 of an inch in height, translating to a figure that's about 14 centimeters tall. Yeah, compared with Chun-Li, Cammy is in fact shorter. When you put them even back to back, you'll see that she isn't even just the fact that the buns on the sides of Chun-Li's head give her a little more extra height. Her head is in fact actually shorter than Chun-Li's. Bringing in some of the other figures as well that we've already had a look at. Here's what she looks like with Ryu, a red version of Ryu, or Ken Masters if you prefer. Here's also what the figure looks like with Guile. Bringing in Blanca off to the far side. I don't even know if he's still even going to be able to fit in the back here. Let's see if we can do this. And here's also what the figure looks like with Sagat. Cammy, if you could believe, is one of the few figures that actually don't come included with a display stand. In the times we've looked at before, the display stands usually are the things that attach onto the effect pieces, just so that they can actually levitate. These don't necessarily leave Cammy's body. They more so attach actually onto the end of her boots. So you're going to take the figure and you're just going to bend her foot like this. With the reach at least that the legs give you, you can easily give her a high kick. And then you're basically just going to take the piece and wedge it onto the end of her boots. Something somewhat similar like this. I believe this is the cannon strike. You can let me know down below in the comment section if that's not correct. The only thing unfortunately about that though is that she doesn't really then have the means to stand on her own. I'm sure you probably could still then make use of a display stand. So if you have yourself, let's just grab one off to the side here. A McFarlane Toys, always the go-to, always the go-to. We just attach that onto the bottom of her feet, just like that. And that might be just the thing that we need in order to get the figure to stand properly. Yeah, because just without that, there's no real way that she's going to be able to do a high kick like that. In fact, most of the time when she's doing the cannon strike, she's leaping down in the air. You wouldn't obviously be able to pull that off with the figure that way. Removing the stand for right now and the effect piece, actually, just before we actually remove that, I wanted to show you, though, I love the way they've transitioned the color. It sort of, first of all, starts as a spiral, kind of a drill bit. And it starts in clear and it makes its way then into yellow. Really nice coloring transitioning there. This is, by the way, all a very gummy kind of soft plastic, so you really have no worries about these individual flame bits breaking off. No, the plastic that they use is very forgiving. Put that off to the side. The figure does also come include some swappable hands. Already on the ends of her forearms, Cammy, you can see, does have closed fists. We can do away with those closed fists in favor of posed hands like these. Basically, all you're just going to do is hold on to the forearm, easily yank the hands off their forearms, wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. You don't have to wiggle. We're just going to pop those hands off. Cammy, actually, this has been several times I've done this, and each time the hands always seem to be stubborn. We're going to remove the hands. Find, of course, the rule of thumb is that the thumbs always go in. That's the rule of thumb. And we're going to wiggle this back in post. Now we'll do the exact same on this side as well. Again, wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. This hand's not as bad as the other. And then take of course, the opposite hand to that, and we're going to wiggle it back in place. There's a lot of wiggling going on so far in this review. Hopefully that's the last of it. And you get basically like a couple of posing hands. I mean, they're okay. I mean, I'd much rather, I think, display the figure, with closed fists instead. But at least it gives you an opportunity then to give a little bit of fingers, whereas the figures also are more closed up like this. It's entirely up to you, really, how you want to have the figure displayed. Lastly, Cammy does come included with an alternate head sculpt. Now, I don't know if I'd ever have plans to change out the head, with the head being as good as it is out of the packaging as already. She sort of kind of comes across with more of a, I want to say, like a pouty face. If you don't really like the look of Cammy's face the way it is right now, she does also have a screaming face. One worry that I really did have getting Cammy's alternate head out of the packaging was that immediately looking at this, I thought the eyes were crossed. Actually, though, it's not crossed, but it's pretty close, though. It almost does look like if they were just a little bit closer to the middle, those eyes would be crossed. I do actually like that they've given her a screaming face. Entirely up to you whether you want to have the figure displayed with this head sculpt. I would, again, much rather, I think, still stick with the head that we have. The one that she does actually have has this little strand of bang. This is a very thin, soft bit of plastic. My only one real concern, though, is with what little this is attaching underneath her beret. Is there a risk, potentially a risk, that that plastic could start to fracture over time, and that little strand of hair, not so little in fact, could that maybe break off? It would probably be also helpful if I wasn't just doing this back and forth with her hair, because I'm only adding insult to injury. One thing that's also kind of cool, though, about her hair, and that's whether you want to go with this head sculpt or this one here, which actually you'll notice, too, that the bang is actually blown to the side. So it's a little bit different there. But that both of them also do have posable bangs. You can actually, or bangs, pigtails on the back of her hair. These are actually posable. Wasn't expecting that at all. So depending on how you really would like to have Cammy's hair displayed, you kind of turn them off to the side and kind of make it look like they're blowing in the wind. That's really cool. Chun-Li never really had that, although Chun-Li really doesn't have long hair like this. Whether you want to go with this head sculpt or you want to go with this one, both of them do actually have posable pigtails. Changing out the head, by the way, is just a case of holding onto the torso. Careful, careful, careful. Holding onto the torso, wiggling the head from the post, popping that off, replacing it then with the head, the alternate head sculpt. And I find, though, there we go, getting the head in place, you really do have to apply a fair bit of pressure to get Cammy's head to stay on top of that ball joint. But there's the alternate head sculpt, really good in both the cases. I don't think it's really as good as the first one, but I could certainly understand why somebody would probably decide to go with this look instead. For the rest of Cammy's look, though, of course, she does have the red beret on the top, somewhat matching gloves there in the red as well. And then she has whatever you would describe this as being. Is it a unitard? Is it a onesie? Whatever it is, there's not a whole lot of fabric here. One of the reasons why I think a lot of people like to cosplay as Cammy is probably more so the fact that the figure just doesn't have really much in the way of an outfit. The outfit really is very little on the back of the body, as you can see there, and they have, for the most part, obviously captured that well enough here on the plastic. Cammy does also have the camo there on her legs. I don't really ever know if this is supposed to be like a tattoo that she has on her legs, or she just... Because again, like if she's in the military, they're putting on camo, and this just decides, I guess this is where she decides to put the camo paint is all over her legs. It is different from one another, so like one leg isn't matching the other. Little splotches there of green. And she has some nicely sculpted boots with a little bit of red on the top for her socks. Yeah, it's a really nice looking Cammy. No issues with it whatsoever. Also being that this is also a Jada Toys release, you've probably heard mention of me mention this in the past, where I really think like the plastic for these pieces is super good. The plastic for Cammy really is no different, even though like her frame is a lot thinner than most of the other Street Fighter figures that we've already had a look at. Like even, just part of my arm here, even just to bring in like Chun-Li, for example, you can actually see that she has a thinner frame than even Chun-Li herself. One thing I also really want to say too is that not only is the plastic a good quality that Jada is using for these figures, but I also really like the subtlety that they add when it comes to the painting. I mean, obviously you have the skin color plastic here, but in addition to that, very faintly added, you can see there's these lines just to add some definition to her body, as if she didn't already have enough definition. The only one thing I will say though is while she does have a little more of that than the top of the torso, she doesn't seem to have nearly enough of that. Just a little bit of subtlety in the paint would have gone a long way, because I feel like the legs look a little too pale. Other than that, though, I mean, all in all, though, just really like the look of Cammy. Always been one of my favorite characters from Street Fighter. I generally would like to play as a Cammy. Usually would be in Cammy. I know I said in the other reviews it was usually like Ken or it was Guile. I think if I was to really generally pick a female, it was always really Cammy. And I was just really, again, like the look of Cammy. For the figure's articulation, yeah, let's go through that together. Head's going to be on a ball joint. So it does, of course, move all the way around. Not that on a real human being you'd be able to do this. This would kill them instantly. But yeah, at least on a figure, you can rotate the head all the way around. The head can look up, and you can bring it down low. You can also rock her head back and forth as well. I know we've already kind of established the fact that in both the cases of the heads, there is actually a peg on both the pigtails, so you can actually rotate them back and forth. These are, again, a very soft plastic, so you really have no worries whatsoever that the plastic's going to break on them. Cammy's upper torso is going to be on a ball joint. It's kind of really hard to kind of get access to the ball joint. Stop that. Because it is, well, it's really tight right around here. So, but you can actually move her torso up and down. You can slightly turn it back and forth. She does also have a secondary ball joint right where her waist would be. For her arms, they rotate all the way around. You can take those arms, yes, and easily pull off a 90-degree angle bend. This one arm is a little on the tighter side, but still can be pulled off. You can also as well take those arms. I probably already said you can rotate them all the way around. There's a swivel there at the bicep. The figure does, in fact, also have a double hinge on the elbow. I mean, to look at a figure this size and realize that Jada Toys, for the price of what they're selling these figures for, not only do use good plastic, but still manage to pull off double hinges in elbows, double hinges in knees. Think of a figure line for this price of what they're selling these figures for, can even do those, can even do that. So yeah, again, she does have the double hinge on the elbow. There's no articulation here for the glove. That looks to be just one sculpting for the rest of the forearm. Hands rotate all the way around. You can also hinge them back and forth. Again, if you want to use these hands, which again, kind of looks like she's miming. She's miming. I'm stuck in a box. I'm stuck in a box. The legs, as for the legs themselves, they do have a splits. As you can see, there's ball joints working behind the scenes. Cammy, in fact, if you walk your way up her legs about 3/4 of the way, there's a swivel cut, so you can rotate the legs all the way around that way. She does also have a double hinge on the knee. She has articulation in the boot, so that is a separate piece from the rest of the calf. And then she has a good amount of articulation here for the feet, where you can move them up and down this way. You can also give her a nice ankle rocker as well. You know what? I probably would say like Cammy's my favorite figure that we've gotten so far from the Street Fighter figures. Like if I was to kind of look at all the lay of the land and what we have gotten so far, probably top 3 favorite figures would be, let's just reach off and grab them now. I would probably say Ken. And I would probably even go Blanca. And I would say Cammy. Yeah, these 3 figures are probably my favorite figures that we've looked at so far. And again, we're still getting a lot more Jada Toys Street Fighter figures. We've seen from at least images posted online that from Comic-Con at least standpoint, there's going to be a whole bunch of other figures like T-Hawk. Is it T-Hawk from Street Fighter? We're going to be getting him as well. And E-Honda. Looking forward to definitely getting him. Chun-Li, one thing I will say though about Chun-Li is that she did have an alternate outfit, Chun-Li. I think, in fact, there's actually been 2 releases of her. Cammy, I think, as far as I know, we've only got just the 1 release of her. She also was one of the harder figures to find, even though, like, online listings, she's still available, and she generally sells online for around $35. I ended up paying a little bit more, and I bought her through the Facebook selling group, because, at least from a Canadian collector, she was next to impossible to find. Though I would not be displaying Cammy the way that you're currently seeing right now. The screaming face is okay. I don't know if I like it really as much as just the regular defaulted head. She seems to, again, follow the same pattern and formula, that the defaulted heads are the ones I generally like a little bit more. Swappable hands, again, are still fine and good. But I think, again, like, out of the way she came out of the packaging, with the closed fists and the defaulted head, is likely going to be the way I'm going to be displaying Cammy on my shelf. I gotta feel bad for Cammy, not just because the temperatures dropped real low in this room, but also just because she's the only Street Fighter figure so far from Jada where she has had an effect piece, but not a display stand to give her the means to use it. I mean, in the case at least of Cammy, it's an effect piece that isn't technically separate, but because it has to attach onto the end of her body, she doesn't have a means to really stand on her own. Had she included, like, for example, a clear post stand that could maybe attached onto the bottom of the effect piece, yes, I know it would have looked a little more like an eyesore, but at least she'd be able to stand on her own. In this case, obviously, with her rotating on the rotisserie, I had to really cheat and use a DC Multiverse display stand. The rotating turntable is black, the display stand is black, so at least it leaves the illusion that Cammy's standing on her own. This might be something as well that's going to have to carry its way onto my shelf, because again, I would really like to have displayed Cammy with the effect piece. I just really can't do it without the use of a display stand. For the look, though, of the character, Cammy's, again, really been one of my all-time favorite designs for the character of the Street Fighter games. She does have 2 distinct head portraits, which is one thing, really, that Jada Toys has done well for the Street Fighter line, giving distinct head sculpts. So it doesn't really look like, when you're having the 2 head sculpts in front of you, that they're so close with one another that you kind of really ask yourself the question, why did they waste the budget to give us 2 heads that look identical to one another? So far, up to this point, every head sculpt has had either a grimaced face, a screaming face, or in the case of Cammy, she does have a little more of a cross-eyed face, but it is definitely different from the head sculpt that we start with when we first get her out of her plastic prison. What do you guys think of Street Fighter's Cammy? Let me know down below in the comments section. Have you guys had the chance to pick this one up, or is this one still that's on your list? Out of so far, by the way, the Jada Toys Street Fighter figures that we've looked at, what would you say is your top 3 favorites? let me know. If you guys also, by the way, did enjoy this video, you can do it a solid and throw it a like. You guys want to stick around for more so? I hope so. This, by the way, my friends, colleagues, and viewers, this isn't the end of our Street Fighter reviews. Oh no. There's a couple more still coming your way, so I'm hoping that you guys are going to be coming back for those. As always, thanks for watching. See you guys next time.